Today, we're going to dive into a topic that is really changing my life. It's wisdom that is evolving me into a completely different being in such a beautiful way. When I say that, I feel like I'm evolving back into my original state of who it is that I've always been. It's a topic that I really do hope liberates you and sets you free. If you guys are a part of the Oasis membership, which is our membership where we give exclusive content, we have an exclusive podcast that we release weekly called Off Record, you'll know that I am in the middle of a 30-day creative challenge. And I'll talk more about this challenge on the Off Record podcast. If you're interested in listening to it, you can just go to the link below and sign up for our membership. But here, I just want to talk about the wisdom that I am picking up from this journey. And I'll dive more into this on an episode with Bella where I'll walk through like every piece of wisdom, the creative wisdom and stuff. But now there's just one topic that is so active for me that I wanted to make an episode on. And it is this topic of understanding how temporary we are as beings. And when our mind and our ego is making us believe that we are these physical 3D bodies that are results of our past, that we must bring in all of those stories from the past and define who we are by what happened to us, the experiences that we had, the things that people said that we were. It's wild because the mind can put us in this box where it can make growing and evolving feel very difficult, where we are essentially victims to what has happened in the past. And something that I'm picking up on in this journey, and especially this 30-day challenge that I'm doing, is that when we decide we want to be more of something or be more of ourselves or access more of our inherent power and limitless potential, which is something that I've personally been accessing and tapping into, it is the strength of our awareness and our consciousness that allows us to do that. It has nothing to do with who you were in the past or the things that have happened to you in the past. You get to decide in this very moment that you are going to just let those stories go and to stop defining who you are as the things that have happened in the past, and to really challenge yourself to look at the ways that you are projecting your past into your future that don't actually serve you. What is it that you are so deeply afraid of that maybe has happened in the past, or a story that you defined yourself from that isn't actually feeling expansive to you, that's feeling like it's weighing you down? For me personally, it was like the remnants of this story of not being capable, of not having it quite in me to do the things that I wanted to do, to really go all in on both the podcast and building my personal brand on YouTube. That's an example of something that I'm really, really activating. And I reached this point where I was like, wow, I am really holding on to this story about myself that isn't even serving me anymore. Like, what do I get out of defining myself through this limited perspective, besides remaining in a state of inaction that doesn't feel good to me? What happens is the ego is literally built on those identities, right? It doesn't have anything else to live on, or stand on. So what it does is it attaches to the stories of the past, the things that happened. This person said this. The ego would rather suffer in a limiting identity than to be free. That is something that when you really understand that, it sets you free. Truly. The ego would rather be right about something than to be free. So think about the things in your life that your mind may be wanting to validate through the way that you're showing up or the things that you're doing. And it is very confronting, but also just as liberating. For me, I was like really getting so honest with myself about the ways that I was defining this limitless essence of who I am that is always changing, always literally collapsing into like that wave particle that is happening. I don't even know how many times per second. Our bodies do that. We are not these physical beings that are so solid, that are like stuck in tar, defined by our past. You get to choose to express yourself in whatever way feels good to you and to be the person that you know you actually are. And even when you're doing subconscious work and you're starting to look at, oh, okay, I think I may have picked up on this story from back then about how capable I am. Maybe I had this experience where I felt like someone defined me as less capable, and I really internalized that. So now it's like I have this limiting perception. Even when you're doing some subconscious work, it could be tricky where the mind is like, yep, this is just who I am. I'm this way because of this thing happening to me. But feel the attachment in that. We do this work of bringing awareness to certain things so that we can free ourselves. So when you're looking at these old patterns, try not to see yourself as a being that is like hot glued. That's like what's coming to mind. Like stuck, like literally stuck in tar to these limiting perceptions, and just see them as stories that are floating by. They're not attached to you, they're floating by. And the more you just get to observe them as these floating things in the sky, the more you connect in with that true essence of who you are, which is that eternal, ever expanding, boundless, limitless consciousness. And it is wild to really embody this in life, because in moments where you feel those stories come up of like, oh, I'm not capable of doing this, you notice how the mind would actually get something out. Like the ego would be like, yes, okay, we're going to listen to the story and do whatever it is that will validate that belief, and then we'll survive. But when you elevate into like that awareness that you're already in and you utilize it in these areas of life towards expansion and really figuring out, like remembering who you truly are, these moments where the stories arise, you just feel into that choice point. And something that's really helping me embody this in life is by zooming out and seeing the higher perspective of who we truly are as beings. It's like a video game character thinking that they are, let's say they have an experience where it defines them in like an emotional way, like they have an experience that gives them an emotional reaction, and then they start to have thoughts about who they are. And then all of a sudden they're like cut into another scene and they're a different character and it's like a different timeline. And the character's like, wait, but like this thing happened to me in that scene. So like this must be who I am here too. And the video game creator is like, no, 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 no. Like that is a different reality field. You are this person right here, right now. And it's a completely different expression of your consciousness. The only thing that would be brought into this timeline from the other timelines is what your mind thinks is needed to bring into that. So this is where choice really opens up on our soul paths, where learning lessons becomes this like, you have the awareness that, okay, yes, I'm learning this about myself, that maybe I've chosen to forget my limitless potential, but where am I not giving myself enough credit for how much I've evolved past that and started to become aware of how powerful I truly am? And the only thing I'm missing is like the integration and the embodiment of it. Because the awareness can be there, right? Like the video game character can be like, yes, you're right. I am not defined by that last scene. But the actual integration of it and the embodiment of it happens in real time through action or inaction or whatever it is that we're doing in life. It is those moments where, let's say that video game character, like, I don't know, let's just use a stupid example. he's a biker that was like trying to make a jump. And in that first scene, he tried to make the jump and he like hurt himself. And now in the second scene, he's like a totally different character, different timeline. He's about to make another jump on his bike. And it is like the awareness can be there of, yes, I am not defined by this past. But the integration of it and the embodiment of it can really start to take place when we are about to lean into some sort of action or to do something. And you have the awareness in that moment of who it is that you truly are, as the limitless potential, the consciousness, the ever expanding essence, that energy. In that moment of doing the thing, you connect in with that. And it is wild when you start to really like bring this in new levels, which is what I'm doing, which is why I'm like expressing it this way, because I've just been having like these insane moments of realizing how our mind can trick us into making us think that we must. How do I word this in a way? It's like the mind. Think about the ego, how it's built on, like how Eckhart Tolle will describe it. It's the structure. There's certain structures, and then there's the content that goes inside of those structures. So the ego, you can imagine, is like this empty house, and it wants to gather things to put it inside the house, put them inside the house. Because without anything inside the house, it like doesn't even exist. It actually just dissolves away. And what it wants to put inside of the house, it doesn't care what it is. It doesn't care if it's a story of like, I'm not capable. It doesn't care if it's a story of like, I'm weak and not enough. It just wants to stuff that house, the structure, with content. And something that I really want to relate over to you through this episode is that you are not the same being that you were a second ago, or a second ago before that, or yesterday. Like, think about how much you have evolved over the past year. And now realize that that doesn't just happen in an instant. Like, that happens in the second by second moments of evolution. And when you draw your awareness into that of like how much you are evolving, instead of focusing so much on the shortcomings, that can be a really powerful shift in one's life. To start celebrating the growth and bringing your awareness and your consciousness to focusing in on the expansion of who it is that you are and what you've experienced. This is like a life hack. I swear. So for you, I want to really draw this back to you. Think about the things in your life right now that you are challenging yourself to lean into, or maybe you're expanding and you're tapping into a more authentic version of who you are, whether that be more powerful, more capable, more, I'm saying more as in like you're remembering that that is already exists. The mind is like, oh, we are more powerful, when really the soul's like, we've been powerful this whole fucking time. But think about the things in your life that are activating those new levels of remembering. What are the parts of you that are feeling outdated? And I just want you to think about and be really honest with yourself. What are the subtle ways that the ego is kind of holding on to those stories? Like, where's the ego like, oh, but we survive off of this drama, or like we survive off of like talking about this limitation all the time, or like we survive off of X, Y, and Z. Like, think about a little kid that doesn't want to let go of its toy. That toy being the adaptation, the limitation. What is that for you? Because I want you to free yourself from thinking that there's anything else you need to do besides elevating above it. Elevate above it. And to realize it is fleeting. It is a string of words. When I say elevate above it, I want you to think about how when you are flying on a plane and there's, let's say, a bunch of clouds and it's raining, and all of a sudden you are flying, flying, flying until you get above the clouds. And above the clouds, you're like, wow, from down there, it looks like this storm is just what exists all up here. and then you fly right above the clouds and all you see is light. This is what we have the power to do at any given moment in life. Do the storms sometimes feel so uncomfortable? Of course. Can we allow ourselves to be human? Of course. Can we cry and scream and let it rip? Of course. It's like saying, can we run in the rain and just like enjoy it? And also, can we be pissed off that it's raining? Of course. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But what I'm inviting you to really think about is that you are not the storm. The storm is fleeting. It is temporary. It's so easy to think that when it's raining, it's never going to stop, or this is just how it's going to be forever. But the more we attach to that, the more we get to experience that. The ego is so tricky in that way, where it will kind of latch on to the story that the emotions bring up just because it gives it something to feel like it matters, it's alive. I'm really inviting you into a paradigm of power, of inner freaking power. So when it is those thoughts are coming up and you start to really rise above, I'm literally noticing that I have lotion in my nose right now. Oh yeah, by the way, I don't know if you're watching the video, but I'm literally in my towel from the shower. Towel on my head, not I'm clothed, but I have a towel on my head right now. Yeah, when you start to have those thoughts come up and you recognize, wow, this story is just a string of words from moments in the quote unquote past, because that literally doesn't even exist. You have the freedom to let go and you see how much of an illusion it is. It's a string of words. What's that movie with, oh my God, who's that actor? Like, what's that movie with that guy? He has that book that like talks about that thing where he's like Fugazi, and he's like out to dinner and he like does his hand thing and he's like, shh. Who is that actor? Holy shit, I'm having such a brain fart right now. He has the book that everyone reads. I forget, I forgot what it's called. I think my husband's read that book. Anyway, that's what that reminds me of. And whenever I have moments of stories coming up, I kind of like play that like, shh, like Fugazi, it's nothing. That is what we get to think about with these stories. But you also have the option to make them heavy. You have the option to define who you are in this now moment by those stories. That's how powerful we are. That's our free will. And I say this not to be like, well, you have an option. You can choose. I'm like, just giving you the power of choice. You have choice. So let's bring this back to you. That thing in your life that is activating a deeper level of remembrance for you, I want you to think about the fact that you have parts of the ego, parts of your old egoic self that are literally dying. Let them die. Have a funeral for them. Send them on their way. And then you get to console the ego and really let the ego know, we're good. I want you on my team now. I don't want to kill you, right? This is like the outdated, very masculine approach to self-development where people just end up in loops because they're having this relationship with their ego where they're constantly fighting it. And the ego will fight back. And that's when you feel at war with yourself and you have like that sense of burnout. But the invitation here is to let the ego die, but then to give it something new to come on board with. That is the key. And not to kill it off because you hate it and need it gone, but because it's played its part. It's done. The role is over. The character, end scene. And now Give it something new to play with. I know we are these limitless beings where we don't want to enclose ourselves and put any words to something that doesn't even have the ability to be defined. But if you do want to lean in and get that ego on board, give it something new to identify with. Give it a statement or an I am that allows you to feel expanded. And when I say expanded, I imagine like our arms coming out from our chest, just like opening up, that expansion feeling. When you can find a identity to play with that brings that expansion, that allows your essence to come alive, let the ego play with that. It's like a little kid being like, here, you can play with this toy. And watch how effortless it becomes to just show up as that being. Let it be easy. This is like my motto for the rest of the year. Let it be easy. Not because there's no action or effort, but because you're doing it with source. You're detaching from these limiting perspectives that were more so drawing in fear and ego, and you're allowing yourself to expand where new I am statements are drawing in soul. That's the expansion feeling. Do you see the difference there? It's like identifying as I'm not enough. It's like closing off the heart. I am limitless. I am powerful. Is it technically a limitation? Yes. But think about the expansion and the opening up that that does for your system. And now let yourself freaking play with that. Let yourself play with that. So, my final note for you is to remember that you are literally collapsing into form through that like wave particle movement at, I don't know the number, but it's a ridiculous amount of times per second. Your body is not physical, it is a holographic projection. And when you want to experience any sort of change in life, it helps to remember this because you're not attaching to the ego and the stories that are telling you you're the same person that you were yesterday, because you're not. And you get to choose how defined you make yourself by those stories, how much you identify with them. And that choice is connected to the strength of our awareness in those moments of feeling triggered, of feeling those emotions. How conscious can we be? How present can we be with ourselves to not identify with the stories that don't make us feel good? Oh, and one more note. I posted a reel the other day filming Bella and I's Zoom call where she was saying something about how life is essentially meaningless. And I recorded her. I like told her to restate what she said, and I recorded it. I put it on our TikTok and our Instagram, so definitely go check it out if you haven't watched it. But what she was saying was that life is essentially meaningless, and we assign it meaning, and then we get to experience the meaning that we give it. And she was saying how people will be like, "Oh, you're just like making meaning out of nothing." That is the whole point of life, is that you are this creator being that has the ability to render reality through consciousness, through your intention. Intention. When you are intentionally living and remembering your essence and choosing to live with that energy, you get to define your past through the lens that allows freedom. To look back at experiences from the highest perspective is to create meaning from past experiences that allows you to experience freedom and evolution and expansion. So now, having an experience in the past where something happened, where someone quote unquote did something to you, hell freaking no. Hell freaking no. If we were these powerful beings creating our reality field, there was something in that for you. That person was playing a role. People play roles in our life. You're not a victim to anything. They are simply playing a role, reflecting back to you the parts of you that you have chosen to forget. So as Peter Crone says, thank them. Send them a thank you note. Thank you so much for mirroring to me the parts of me that I was wanting to remember. And I say this just because when you are on a journey of evolving and expanding, it's tempting for the mind to grasp onto meaning from the past that served the livelihood of the ego. And now, if you have an experience from the past that you're sensing, oh, but this actually did happen and it hurt me, let yourself feel. Drop so fucking deep into that experience and let yourself feel. But don't let that experience leave you with a lower perspective on yourself. I said this in one of my videos the other day. Don't let it shake you, let it wake you. And I was like, put that on a fucking tote bag. Let it wake you up. Let experiences in life be mirror moments for you to remember more of who it is that you truly are. And let yourself evolve and change and realize that you are the body is a holographic projection and your consciousness is ever freaking expanding. All right, guys, that is my little TED Talk. I'm going to step off my soapbox. And yeah, definitely feel free to check out the membership. We made some slight changes by just making it one tier, just to make it super easy for you guys. And we are so freaking stoked about this new iteration of the membership. We're going to have we already have been having live streams the first Friday of every month, where you guys come on to the live streams, you ask questions, we really riff on topics that you guys are fueling the combo with. So it's really, really fun. Then we have our exclusive content where we share more of the details of our stories, the behind the scenes. I'm going to be definitely dropping deeper into this 30-day challenge and sharing more of the ins and outs of what's been going on there. But thank you guys so much for listening. And we'll see you on Wednesday with the off-record episode. All right. We love you guys. Bye.